Stories Unlocked is a podcast for everyone and anyone. Each week, hosts Ari George and Selena Nguyen have open and honest conversations with key personalities aimed to inspire, educate, and entertain listeners, acting as a conduit between everyday people and names of individuals we all aspire to be. Listen to our podcast with an open mind as you prepare to take notes, laugh, cry, and feel inspired to be the best version of yourself. This is episode 1 of Stories Unlocked. Today, our special guest is one of Australia's top-tier airbrush artists and brand executive of the iconic Crostoli King. We sit down and talk about his personal journey of highs, lows, and everything in between. Honouring his rich Italian roots, he's given new life to his mother's authentic, homemade Sicilian recipes that have been passed down through the generations and enjoyed Australia-wide. It's the King of Crostoli, Santino.
And we're live on the Stories Unlocked podcast. I'm here with Santino Ruisi. Have I pronounced that correctly? I've not pronounced that correctly, have I?
That's okay. I'm known for many different names. It's actually Ruisi.
Ruisi.
It's quite easy.
Yep.
It's
wow.
real easy.
I really butchered that one. Sorry.
Ruisi.
Anyways, thank you for coming and making the trip to be on this podcast. We're really excited to have you here.
It's an absolute pleasure and an honour for me to be here, so thank you for inviting me.
Thanks, Santino. Let's dive into it, shall we? Let's take me back to the very beginning. What was it like growing up as Santino?
I must say I had a fairly privileged upbringing in the sense that I had a very hard-working, devoted mum that did everything in her power to make sure that my younger brother and I had a roof over our head, food in our stomach, you know. And so from that point of view, absolutely privileged.
Yeah.
Never went without, although we had nothing, we had everything. And so I guess the ability to, you know, appreciate those times and sort of move forward from that has been in a very humbling journey for me. I had great ambitions to be many things, you know. Superhero was one of them.
Of course,
classic. Still in training for that, and but I had a lot of people around me. Had a great community of friends, family, mentors, but I loved indulging in my own presence and my own world, and I'd burn a lot of my hours as a child dreaming and fantasizing, and so I guess if we're really going deep, started with a metallic red E.H. Holden matchbox with rubber wheels that with a paddle pop stick in my grandfather's backyard I'd make roads and just pretend that I was driving, and just it was just the most amazing experience. So we're really going back, we're going deep now, and loved being creative, loved drawing, loved creating things from nothing and seeing people's reaction around me, and I guess that the reassurance from my surroundings gave me the energy and the fuel to keep creating and keep pushing boundaries. Yeah.
Isn't that the best, sort of that era when you're a kid and you get to be creative and get to play with your imagination? Do you feel like that sort of carried on still into adulthood? Like you still get to have fun and be creative?
Absolutely. In fact, I've spent the last almost 45 years of my life being that person, you know, and so still, you know, recognising that I'm very fortunate to have done that, be able to be that person. But I felt that I actually had to conform, I guess, to, you know, different things that most people in society had to conform to, and that is, you know, go to school,
of course,
get a part-time job, save money, you know. And so, although following the social construct and what's expected of you as a human being in the 20th century, I built this parallel universe in my mind and sort of escaped to that world quite frequently.
Yeah.
So incognito, I was able to, develop my skills and, away from the 9 to 5.
And how was that? So in, say, school, what was school like for you? Being that sort of creative mind, but also having to conform to society and, like attend school and be studious. Sure. How was that like for you?
It's quite difficult.
Yeah.
I didn't quite like school in the sense of what the school had to offer me. And when I say school, the education system. And the regime of, waking up, putting a uniform on, making sure you were at X time to catch X bus and, all this sort of, all the fundamental and all the regimental stuff that goes against any creative soul.
Yeah.
But came to life when it was times for drama or times for art or, doing something creative at school is where I really excelled and I guess tried to, well, not so much tried to, but sort of made a bit of a name for myself. I'm actually, to this day, I still get caught out with in year 7. So we're talking many, many moons ago now. I pioneered something that most year 7 students wouldn't do when they go to high school. And as you can imagine, there's a huge peer pressure attachment to that. And so I thought I'd just break all boundaries. And first week of high school, where everyone's trying to conform and whatever, I literally got up on our first school assembly in front of the whole school and sang La Bamba.
You did not?
of all songs. Right. And so forever until I part, I'll be known as the guy that sang La Bamba.
I love that.
And
that's the best to be known as that.
Yeah. So, doing things like that on a creative level, but just really stepping outside the norm.
Yeah.
And, doing sort of creative, crazy things like that.
Yeah.
Is what I'm sort of known for, I guess.
No, that's amazing. I think everyone should have a little bit of that still within them. I think that's really cool. Would you say then in school, art, drama, those types of subjects were your favourite and that's where you really thrived?
Art and music were my 2 favourite subjects.
Ooh.
Art and music teachers were my 2 types of favourite people.
Of course.
Even right after school, right through high school and beyond, I held really dear relationships with my high school art and music teachers. Had a lot in common with them.
Yeah.
And absolutely felt that they were the periods, they were the times that allowed me to explore where I wanted to be and plant the seeds for my dreams to become a big pompous rock star or some famous artist that's going to be exhibited at the Louvre or something, which I've not achieved either one of those two, but definitely great breeding grounds for my upbringing.
You still have time to achieve those dreams. Would you say your family was supportive in that, in those goals of yours?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
We all know that one cousin or that one introvert or and so they're known for that. And so I was the creative kid in our family and so it was just expected that I would, do something with music or art or, and so it was encouraged to a point where mum, in place of putting me into a soccer club or a football club, she actually enrolled me into a dance school.
No way.
Of all things. So imagine, growing up in the 80s where everything is it's like super cool and you're doing and we didn't have the big gender, war race that we have today. It was guys had to do guy things, football and so I was known to be at a dance school. So that was like detrimental for my position in society. And so with that, I learnt, jazz, ballet, tap dancing.
Really?
So performing arts and so singing and all these sort of things and drama was part of that. And so I was in a show group for many years and I was a professional jazz ballet dancer for many years of my early childhood.
No way.
And so I performed with many reputable acts. My first introduction to, I guess, someone quite known at the time was a gentleman named Lonnie Lee. And he was known in the 50s and 60s for Australian Bandstand. He had this famous song called Starlight, Star Bright. And I had the opportunity to tour with Mr. Lonnie Lee, and he signed a record, an old vinyl.
Yeah.
And it was the message that he wrote on the cover of that album that really inspired me and had a huge effect on my life even to today. And the message went something like, "Thank you, Santino, for all you do on stage, you know, you yada, yada, yada." And the closing caption was, "Good places await you."
That's so sweet.
You know, and so that really affected me, and that really gave me hope. And so kept on the journey and crossed paths with Jimmy Barnes, and so we did some things with Jimmy Barnes, and so I got the amazing privilege as a 12-year-old to be on stage singing with Jimmy Barnes and a gentleman at the time named Mark Williams, who had a song called Show No Mercy. And we were doing the outro, and I was just this little backup dancer kid that was on stage, and it so happened we were singing the song Celebrate. And we're, you know, sort of closing the show, and here I am on stage with all these famous Australian singers, and Jimmy Barnes walks straight over to me on stage, puts his arm around me. Mark Williams puts his arm around me. I'm this little kid in the middle. We're on stage in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people, and we're singing Celebrate, you know. And so it's little keystone, little milestones, for a better term, in my life.
Yeah.
Like that helped fuel my ambition and my desire to push my creative side. And so then did some, you know, acting down the track as a mid to late teenager. Got a few speaking roles on the TV show called Heartbreak High, and did a couple of TV commercials as a kid. And so my family were very supportive of that.
Yeah,
they really pushed that, and I got through all the peer pressure, I guess, of, you know, being a dancer and a singer and all this sort of stuff. And you know, it's funny. I you know, love comedy, and there's a really cool Australian comedian named Steve Hughes, and he makes light of a joke that he had a very similar sort of story where back in the 80s it was very football driven, and he took cooking class, you know, and all his mates were like putting you know, a bit of heat on him for doing a cooking class, and he's like, well, and they said, "Oh, you know, what are you know, Steve, are you gay, mate?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm gay. You guys are showering with 15 blokes and I'm here icing cakes with 30 women, you know." So as a 12, 13-year-old, I was backstage, quick, you know, costume changes, naked women everywhere, you know, but not that it was part of my thought process back then. It was, you know, putting that tie on, putting those sequins pants on, get back out on stage, you know. So it was a very, very professional journey.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So there's a lot that a lot of people don't know about my deep-seated past.
No, that's so awesome to hear. And it's awesome to hear that your family was so supportive of that side of you too, because I feel like coming from like my family, they placed a lot of importance on academics. So even if I am a bit of a creative, I think my family would definitely steer me in the other direction. But that brings me to then Crostoli King. How did you fall into that? Being like this creative, like little kid, how did you fall into Crostoli King?
So Crostoli King happened by chance. It was the ability of a single mother with two kids holding down 3 jobs trying to make ends meet. And she had this hustle where she was distributing coffee at the time. And she would do taste testings in shopping centres to try and promote and spruik her label that she was selling for. She hustled so hard back in the day that she didn't even ask for a job when she approached this company. She said, I'm not here for a job. I don't want you to pay me anything. Just give me your product. I'll go out there and sell. And you just pay me what you think I'm worth.
Right.
And so they had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And what my mum did was she literally put that brand on the map, with regard to getting the sales out there, getting introduced to a lot of the Italian delis and supermarkets back in the day. And so with selling or promoting coffee at a kiosk station in a shopping centre, you need some sort of a side plate of something to give away. And so once a year, she'd make these amazing little sweets called Crostoli. And it was just one plate a year, I kid you not.
Really?
They're not in the shape that they are today, in the bows. They were more like a very long strip of pastry. That once thrown into the fryer, they would sort of buckle up, and you'd have this intertwining ribbon of dough with the icing sugar, and she'd make a plate of this and break them all up. And people were trying the coffee and having a free taste of the Crostoli.
Yeah.
And it got to the point at that demo where people were going, hey, great coffee, but what are these? And so there was she generated a lot of interest for this plate of biscuits. The owner of the deli at the time, which I must say was her first customer, and 30 years on, he's still her customer today. So it's still our customer. So we place a lot of emphasis on our relationships. But he came to Mum at the end of the day and said, hey, a lot of our customers are coming in asking about the coffee and particularly these fried pastry things that you have here. Do you think you could make me a dozen packets?
Wow.
And so Mum was like, okay, I could probably do that. She knew nothing about, allergens, label compliance, packaging, all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
So she went to her local grocery store. She raided the supermarket shelves with icing sugar and vanilla essence and flour and sugar. And went home that night, spent all night making more Crostoli. She made 12 packets on a foam tray. She teased it up with some plastic and with that ribbon, with the scissors, and you tease up.
Yep.
And she made it look really, really nice. She grabbed my school book labeler and we printed out vanilla Crostoli, 150 grams, and that was it. No barcodes.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing
I love
like
it.
that. She went back the next day and said, here's your 12 packets of Crostoli. The next day he phoned her and said, can I get 2 dozen? They've all sold out. And so she was over the moon. So she thought, this is great. I could probably do this as a small side hustle and maybe once a month conjure up enough money to buy myself a dress or something extra that won't need to, that won't affect my income that's feeding my kids at the moment. Something to treat myself with.
Yeah.
And she did that. And a couple of days later, they sold out. And he goes, can you give me 3 dozen? And by the way, I have another store in Haberfield. It's called La Monica IGA in Haberfield. It's an institute for the Italian community over in Haberfield. And so La Monica IGA in Haberfield was Mum's second store and same owner. And so he introduced it to the store at Edenza Park Plaza, which at the time was a Payless supermarket. It's now Edenza Park Deli.
Yeah.
With a gentleman named Angelo, who's been a huge, part of my journey. And that's where it took off. And so it got to the point where she was still working her couple of jobs through the day, but she was fulfilling orders at night. And so I have vivid memories as a kid going with my younger brother and I, we'd have a shower and get in our pajamas and our robes, jump in the car, go to Woolies at night, raid the supermarket shelves, and every night we'd wipe them out.
No way.
To the point where we'd wipe the shelves and we'd go, hey, can you go on the back and see if you have any more vanilla essence and all this sort of stuff. And so come back and she'd work through the night and the next day produce, these amazing Crostoli.
Oh my gosh.
Go to work, and then after work come home, deliver. And she was just this superwoman from what I can remember as a kid, and within a few months, the orders became overwhelming. And so she instilled the help of her mum, her sister, and so they came around, and she moved from her kitchen, which was basically her whole, commercial setup was a frying pan and a pair of tongs. Everything was done by hand, rolling by hand, everything. And kicked my brother and I out of the garage. We had this little boys' cave, not a man cave, but we had the old Sega Mega Drive set up, and our bean bags, and our, I don't know what we had, Mickey Mouse posters of what we had on the walls. And so that became our first...
you out?
Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely. That became our first production facility. That lasted about 6 months.
Wow.
And found ourselves after school coming home.
Yeah.
Kids are we lived in a cul-de-sac, and kids were playing cricket or soccer in the cul-de-sac, and not that we weren't able to go and play with the kids, but the emphasis was to stay back and help mum pack, fry, do whatever needs to be done. Only when the orders were fulfilled were we able to get the last 10 minutes of the game, and run out in all our glory as the sun's setting and getting bitten by a few mosquitoes, and then get called back in for dinner, And so that was our journey for the next probably, 6 months or so, until she decided to bite the bullet and go and rent an actual commercial facility. So she moved to her first factory unit in Preston's, and it was that time when it was serious, because there was fixed overheads, there was, staff. I think she had 3 or 4 staff at the time, helping to roll and cut and twist and bake and all that sort of stuff. And I never forget 4 years into that, my first driving experience, getting my P's for the first time. Most of my mates jumped in their car and took off.
Yeah.
My first experience with my independent driving was loading a little red van that had half the floor missing, 4-speed column shift, and we loaded it to the brim with this Crostoli, and I'd go and deliver the products.
And you were the delivery boy.
So then I'll become the delivery, which happily to do, because it meant I was driving, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't in the factory doing all the
That's
hard
true.
stuff. And so within a couple of years of being in that rented facility, we actually moved right across the road into these brand new factories. They were amazing. They were built actually about 30 years ago. So just as Mum started the business is when these factories were. And it was the only factory in the Prestons area that had a grease trap. And that's quite significant, because the very nature of what we needed to do, it's a food facility, needs a grease trap. And so it was only the demise of the Ridge 66 chain of stores, that was their head office. And so when they went belly up, the facility came available and was offered to us. And so we went in there, we started renting it for about, I think, 12 months. Yep. And then Mum actually purchased the facility after 12 months. And so she became, a landowner of, a landlord of her own dream, I guess. And that's when we really pushed. And we've been there ever since. Yeah. So we've been there for a good 25, 26 years.
Wow.
And then as opportunity came up, we had to expand. We've always expanded, away from our ability to expand and willingness to expand. It was because the demand was there and we had to grow, and so we constantly evolved. So we had no real clear picture of where we wanted to be or how the facility needed to be laid out. It was almost the best analogy I can give for the Crostoli King facility is a big Lego toy, and we just kept clicking on different parts of the business. Okay, we need a mezzanine for storage. Let's build one. You know, okay, this is getting too small. What do? We move. Well, we can't afford to move right now. Let's cut a deal with the next door neighbour and get him out of his facility and buy it off him and perhaps pay it off over a couple of years and have some sort of a deal there and that's just smash walls and extend kitchen floors and
oh my gosh.
And so 3 factory units on, we've created our facility that it is today. So I'm not sure if I've fast forwarded through the journey too quickly, but it was definitely sprouted from very humble beginnings.
That's amazing to think. That all started in your kitchen and now you're in this massive facility in Preston's. What a journey that would have been. And you were there from right at the beginning as the delivery boy. Did you do anything else? Like, did your mum let you do?
I did every role.
Every role.
I think if I was to give any advice to any person that wanted to be a CEO of any company, whatever it may be, and my advice to them would be go start sweeping floors.
Yeah.
Go start making the coffee. Go and get the mail from the letterbox and really understand the whole corporation from the ground up. I think a lot of CEOs today may lose sight of the bigger picture of their organisation that they run because they may not be able to empathise with the lower hierarchy of that organisation. And so having the journey of playing every single role in that factory. I was a pastry guy, I rolled. There'd be times where there'd be many years in the first factory across the road where we'd work 16 hours straight.
Wow.
To the point where I would get 4 hours sleep a night. So we'd work our asses off. We'd get home, we'd have something very quick to eat, go to bed. Mum, as soon as I closed my eyes, it felt like Mum woke me up again. I would wake up, I would throw up.
No.
Wash my face, back to the factory. Come home in the dark, go to work in the dark. Roll dough. Mum would be there rolling dough. Her hands would be just destroyed, from rolling all day, until the point where we could afford to get a hand roll, pasta machine, 16 hours a day, day in, day out, month in, year out.
My God.
So all levels of the business. There's not one role that I can't, or my mother or my brother can't jump into and be the best at that role.
Yeah.
Because we pretty much invented those roles. We trained the people that we were hoping to replace us and give us a break from. And those people don't always last. It's not a role that's it's not everyone's dream job. And so you find that it's a very high turnover type with regard to staff. In saying that, we've got an amazing A-team, is what we call, of about 12 to 15 staff. So today, 2023, we're close to 50 staff at Crostoli King. But we have an A-team of about 12 to 15 staff that have been with us respectively for 22 years, 18 years, 15 years. And so they're our core team that just know the operations inside out and have grown with us and shared our vision, shared our dream. And they're the ones that are obviously eating at our round table, and so we're very fortunate looking back now that we're able to, not necessarily get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and throw our guts up anymore and go and, 12 that handle for 16 hours a day. We've been able to automate a few of the processes with some machinery, and but we've got some amazing staff. And so so getting back to the CEO point of what roles in their company, and I think it's very important to understand not only how to do certain roles, but understand what those staff members are going through while doing that, day in, day out.
Yeah.
You can get very complacent, and you can very easily lose sight of how fortunate you are and the position you're in. And it's only at, I guess, times like this where you've got a set of headphones and you're asking to divulge intimate knowledge that you actually internally go back and start really appreciating the actual journey and what you went through.
Yeah, that journey is amazing, Santino. Did you ever think like this is where you would end up? Or did you have other dreams?
I absolutely had other dreams. This was not part of my journey, and
not what you planned.
No, I think in the 30 years of the journey of Crostoli King, I think I've left 3 times.
Have you?
Yeah, and I think I've been fired once.
Have you?
Yeah.
No way, by your mother?
Yeah, absolutely. There was a point when I think I was about 15 years old, and we had this like never-ending tables of these chocolate biscuits laid out, and this big giant piping bag of hot melted chocolate, and you had to drizzle these biscuits with this chocolate, and in place of drizzling the chocolate, I was doing little hot rod flames on the tops of the biscuits.
Oh my God!
I was decorating these and thinking, let's bring out a set of flamed biscuits or something like that, and never forget Mum being a good Italian woman that she'd come from behind and give me a smack across the back of the head and what are you doing, and it's like, well, Mum, this is not me. I don't want to be sitting here drizzling thousands of biscuits. I want to decorate that one biscuit and turn it into a work of art.
I love that.
And it was at that point where she actually turned to me and said, well, son, if that's what you want to do, there's the door, go and do it.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And so when you ask me, were my family supportive? Absolutely, they were supportive. They, as much as it killed her to let me go, as much as she knew I was, in her eyes, wasting my time, I guess from her experience as a child as well, coming from a very hardline Sicilian migrant family where my grandfather made all my uncles and aunties work as young, because things were quite tough back then. And so Mum tells me stories that she started work at 6-7 years old, and she'd earn a few dollars a week, and she'd had to pay my grandfather and give them the money to help keep the household running. And so she was denied a lot of her childhood dreams and activities. And so I guess every generation should have a better life, as they say. And I think she wanted to give us a bit better quality of life than what maybe she went through. Yeah. And so she, as I said, it was probably hard for her to do it. But she let me walk out, and I embarked on my airbrush journey. I became an airbrush artist. I absolutely loved the outcome of seeing what airbrushing looked like, and at the time there was nothing around to learn or anything, so I was pretty much self-taught. And then by the age of 15, I think, so my airbrush journey started with the Crostoli King journey, so when Mum started. Wow. But it was more of a hobby type. And so by 4 or 5 years into the Crostoli journey, I was already 4 or 5 years into my airbrush journey. Wow. And that's when I was doing the flames on the biscuits. And I started developing my skills. And so by the age of 16, I became the arch nemesis to the most well-renowned airbrush artist in the country. And we're professional friends these days.
I love that. That's good.
But for many years, I wouldn't say I hated him, because I didn't at any stage. In actual fact, I probably want to take this opportunity to let him know that he was actually my idol, and I admired him so much. And but he did so many things to repel our coming together, and and him knowing that he was my absolute idol, and because I became his arch enemy. And so at about 15, 16 years old, this guy was already in the game for 30 years. Was the most famous airbrush artist in the country, and he's this 13, 14, 15-year-old coming in, taking the front cover of every car magazine, bike magazine, giving him a run for his money, to the point where he actually invited me, him and his wife,
Yeah.
invited me to his factory one day and offered me a job.
Really?
And really. And I was still at school at the time, and realised at a very young age that he wasn't actually offering me a job. He was just trying to take me off the circuit.
Oh.
And so, but offered me amazing money back in the day. What would be the equivalent today of thousands of dollars a week in pay.
Wow.
Because it's a very niche, very specialised process. But I realised that, hey, I could do a bonnet or a Harley tank, once a week in my garage and make that money, and so I kindly turned his offer down and continued to be his arch nemesis for many years to come. I then opened up probably the biggest network of airbrush schools in the country under the banner of a school called Airbrush Venturi.
Wow.
A very smart scientist. Well, that's a bit of a contradiction because in order to be a scientist, you need to be quite smart. But a very brilliant man, let's put, in the form of Tony Vowles, wrote this amazing system where he quantified the language of art in just like written sheet music is to musicians. And so no longer did you need to be, talented or anything like that. You'd actually put a scientific or a mathematical equation to art. And it's very different to like the paint by numbers thing where, line 1, position 2, blue. It's nothing like that at all. It was more of a software, it was more of a way of understanding, a way of thinking.
Right.
And so he was able to quantify the art language in the form of an octave like there is with music. And so I was very fortunate to be one of very few people in the country to be on his team, on his national team, and over many years helped develop this method called the Venturi method, which is now the Australian standard for airbrushing today. And so I ran probably the biggest network of airbrush schools anywhere in the country. Had many teachers over the years work for me, which were my hand-picked students. Because you can't just put an ad in the paper for something so specialised. So I had the privilege of, training hundreds of students on many different levels and finding the diamonds in the rough.
No way. And
offering them extended training and effectively working for me at the end. So, and so we just continued growing and, airbrushing at all the major car events like Auto Salon, Summer Nats, Motor X, really being a driving force in particularly the New South Wales airbrush scene, and did that for many, many years, probably 15 years in total. And then some tragic news came and I got a knock on the door at 2 a.m. One of our delivery drivers, I opened the door and there's one of our delivery drivers standing there going, "Hey, you better get your ass over to Mum's. Her house just burnt down."
No.
And so I raced over there. Never got there so quick. And remember getting into the street and there was just fire brigade and police and news crews and 30-foot flame coming out the top of Mum's house, There was a roadblock that I remember just ploughing through. It didn't stop. And remember seeing Mum at the front. And that was a turning point in all of our lives. And it's very difficult to relive.
I can imagine
the moment. And I ran up to Mum. I just grabbed her and I just held her in my arms and just watched everything that she'd built over all her life. And she just everything burnt to the ground.
No.
And took about 13 minutes for the house to.
13 minutes.
That's it.
Oh God.
At the time, we had about 17 policies with the factories and the equipment and And one of those 17 policies was Mum's house. And for some reason, the bookkeeper didn't bring it over or whatever it was, but it got overlooked. And so she had no insurance on her house.
No.
And so effectively, we lost everything. And
No, that would definitely be. I can't even imagine reliving that. Something like that.
we lost everything 2 weeks out of Christmas.
No way. But I can only imagine you guys, your mother, your family, a bunch of hardworking hustlers. You would have risen from those ashes.
And, you know, I'm so grateful to have gone through these experiences because it really helps me to thrive knowing that I'm alive.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling and experiencing these experiences. And from a creative point of view, it's every songwriter's, it's every artist's dream to go through something so tragic, you know.
Yeah.
Because that's material, yeah? That's what you draw from. That's what you draw on.
Yeah.
And so I'm so grateful and fortunate to be able to see the highs, see the lows, have everything, have nothing, you know, and be able to bounce from that and draw from that. And so at that point, I think I was up to about 9 airbrush schools over 2 states, Canberra and New South Wales.
Wow.
I had my own training centre where I'd bring all my teachers together and train them once a month, and it was really going places. I was the first person in the country to put airbrushing as a scope on the HSC, on the Board of Studies website.
Wait, really?
Yeah, so I actually went through all the hoops and got airbrushing as a 2-unit subject in high school. So 2-unit maths, 2-unit English, 2-unit airbrushing, you know, so year 11 students could now choose it as an elective.
I would have chosen that as an elective.
Everyone would have chosen it as an elective. And so I was instrumental in putting all that together. And so I was literally at the gate of exploding into the path that I was meant to be living. And the sirens. And so I shut that path down very quickly without hesitation. And went to Mum and said, hey, don't worry about it. It's just a house. It's just bricks and mortar. The main thing is you're okay.
Exactly.
And we've worked hard. We know what hard work is. We know what sacrifice is. Let's just give it another shot and let's just keep building this thing, you know. And so I joined forces with Mum 7 years ago now. Yeah. And haven't looked back.
That's amazing.
And we've gone from strength to strength. We've now gone to, as I said, you know, a national company. Pardon me, we've got 15 distributors Australia-wide. We supply to the likes of Costco and all the big guys for over 2 or 3 years now, and dominate in those fields. You know, we bring out products. They're the best products in their field, best quality. There are many, you know, mirrored products on the market, but nothing really comes close to what we put out. And I think, you know, had we not had our journey that we've had, we wouldn't have appreciated sort of what we're doing now. And so my focus the last 7 years has really been back in the Crostoli. Yeah. And I've convinced myself now that you know, this is definitely a journey that I need to see through, realising that it could all come to an end, but particularly with the volatile industry and world that we live in today post-COVID. We've probably had the worst 3 years of our business life, but we got through it, you know. And so this is our home stretch. Yep. And so when you run a marathon and you go through the hills and you twist your ankle on a rock and you're going up and you're coming down and you wet your socks through this lake, and nobody sees that. Yeah. They just see you when you enter that stadium and do that last lap. Yeah. You know, and we're in the gates of that stadium now, you know, and so we're running our final lap, and so we're going to give it everything we got.
Of course.
You know, and there's still a couple of runners ahead of us, so we're going to chase them down, and they're just going to eat our dust. That's the plan. But there is a finish line.
There is.
And at the end of that finish line, we're going to take a deep breath and probably collapse, you know, and probably not run another marathon like it. Because if we had to start our journey again today, I don't think it would be possible.
Yeah.
Not the way that we've built it. From what I've seen over the years, a lot of businesses today, a lot of startups, they want to get to that stadium within the first 3 years, 5 years. You know, and it's just we were very fortunate to build a very solid foundation over many, many, many years. So we haven't quite, you know, achieved a lot of what we've set out to achieve, but when you look back at the journey, we've actually achieved a lot.
Yeah.
And it's because of that very solid foundation.
Yeah. No, I think everything you've been through, your mother, your family, it's a true testament as to who you guys are. Like, you have gone through so much, and you've still managed to build such an incredible brand. It's so well recognized. I even have a box of Crostolis in my cupboard. I got my sister accidentally addicted to them. She absolutely loves them.
Let me tell you, it was no accident.
Yeah, no, it was no accident. No, but it's just amazing how far you guys have come, and no doubt, I believe in you 100%. You will make it to that stadium, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be glorious. In saying that, what would be sort of like, maybe just to wrap this up, what would be your best advice, or actually, what's the best advice that someone has given you in your life?
The best advice. Funny, because I haven't had a lot of people giving me the best advice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've had people, the best person that I got advice or learnt from actually didn't do much for me.
Oh.
And it was the very absence of them doing something that enabled me to learn greatly from it. And so it was not what they taught me, but it was what they didn't teach me that helped me to learn something.
And what was that? Can you tell us?
Well, it's not one thing in particular, but it's, if I was to give an example, it'd be a role model that does everything wrong and shows you everything incorrectly. Yeah. And you learn from that teaching, and you do the complete opposite. And work out that that's the success. That's the key to success.
Reverse engineer it.
It's reverse engineered.
Yeah, why
and so
not?
If I could reverse engineer your question, then yeah, absolutely. There are people that have taught me what not to do, that help me to do what I do.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Santino. It's honestly a privilege to even hear your journey and those stories that you've shared today. I'm so emotional right now. Like, that was amazing, those stories. And it's amazing to see how you have your creative side, your spray painting empire, and then your Crostoli empire, and how they sort of work hand in hand. Especially now, I'm assuming at Crostoli, you would be that visionary that comes up with new ideas that, like, you would bug your mum with.
So yeah, it was a bugging process for a long time, until she just succumbed to it and went, right, okay, you're the creative guy, you just go and handle it, you go and deal with it. And so it's very unusual, it's very rare for someone in a position in a corporation, particularly. I've been, people get given names, and I'm called the general manager of the company. It's just a name. I don't know. I still make coffees for my staff. I still pick up rubbish. I still jump on the fork if the guy's at lunch and load the truck up. I mean, so titles, schmidles, it's but it's very unlikely or a very rare situation where people in the corporate world and so high up in that chain have come from a creative background.
Yeah.
Because usually the creative people are stamped out at the very entry level of their employment. Large corporations don't necessarily want people that have their own opinion or are creative. They want you to conform to their processes and, you know, do the right thing, do your 40 hours, get paid, go home, come back, you know, and then they stamp out those people very early in the process. And when they do have those loyal subjects that, you know, follow the protocol and follow the regime and work their way up, by the time they get to a position where they need to be creative, well, they've already stamped everyone out. And so, again, very privileged to being able to, look, if we were to reverse engineer this, there's no way that with my background and my skill set that I'd be applying for a role as a delivery driver or a pastry guy at a biscuit company.
Yeah.
And then working my way up
Yeah.
over 30 years that I've been indentured to. It just so happened that I was the son of the founder and I had no choice. And so, but I was very grateful. I'm very grateful to be able to have lived a parallel universe. And so effectively did 30 years of the corporate stuff, but simultaneously did 30 years of my creative journey as well. And so when I basically came to the point where, you know, Prince Charles got his throne, and I say that, you know, very loosely, being the Crostoli King, you know, the whole point of having that 30-year parallel journey next to me with my creativeness and bringing that over helped me to be creative with the Crostoli project. And so I'm able now to, you know, come up with new concepts and design packaging and really come to life with that. So I guess I really enjoy playing with the brand and the direction of it, the colours, the logos, being creative with that, engaging with, you know, like-minded creatives. I've got an amazing social media team that we've now attached ourselves with, and just basically living my dream through them now because my time's very limited. And so they're an extension of my creativeness and it's just a perfect fit. And so still able to keep the daily production going and the running of an organisation, but being creative at the same time and creating that brand and you know, designing new packaging and doing photo shoots and, oh, look, I'm not happy with the shadow on that. Can we change the light? I mean, you know, very few general managers would have that kind of input.
Very true.
On their products. So, I mean, what a ride it's been, and I'm extremely grateful and extremely fortunate to have amazing people around me that I can hopefully influence, and I've been influenced by, and who knows where this journey is going to go.
Yeah, no, best of both worlds, and I'm certainly very excited to see what the future holds for Crostoli King and for yourself and for your family. So yeah, thank you so much, Santino, for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been an absolute honour and privilege.
Thank you.